If this is your first time to watch this competition, what will happen, each contestant will come up and give their presentation. After they have given you their presentation, they will get an opportunity to answer a fishbowl question. And they will also be judged on how they actually answer that question. Shortly after that, we will dismiss the judges. We'll continue with the rest of the program, and then we will bring the contestants back in to actually announce who the winner is for the $4,000 college scholarship. So let's go ahead and start with our first contestant, Sadie Danielle Turner. Sadie lives in Corinth. She's 20 years old. She plans on graduating from Mississippi State with a degree in agriculture information science with a concentration in leadership, and furthering her education and receiving a master's degree in something that can help her widen and impact the agriculture industry. She wants to find a career that she can impact through the agriculture industry and those affected by agriculture. Contestant number 1, Sadie Turner.
Good afternoon. My name is Sadie Turner, and I'm from Alcorn County, as Ms. Barbie said. And I would like to talk to you today on a little something that is really, we're facing in agriculture today that's becoming an issue in the agriculture industry and sector. For centuries, America has not only supplied the nutritional needs for our country, but has for much of the world. We have produced the crops and raised our livestock in an economically sound but ethical manner, without the intervention of anyone. But today, our agricultural practices are being questioned. Today, it is not only important that we feed the world, but the consumer wants to know, well, how? In the year 1960, one farmer fed 25.8 people. And in the year 2014, one farmer fed 155 people. Farmers and ranchers and their agricultural practices are increasingly under the microscope. Although we may like to do things the way we have always done them, we have to analyze our procedures carefully, evaluate our production practices, and be aware that we constantly fall under the scrutiny of industry watchdogs, such as PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and HSUS, the Humane Society of the United States. Although studies show a majority of these consumers do not agree with many of the views of these radical groups, these same studies show an increased concern in from how their food gets from the farm to the market to the plate. The challenge of the 21st century may not be in the ability to produce enough food, but in the ability to produce a marketable product economically while maintaining very strict production practices. At times like these, the importance of organizations such as Farm Bureau come into play. From not only educating the farmers, but also educating the consumers. From not only keeping track of current legislation, but also guarding against the overreach from our government and government agencies. And also making sure that we can continue to combat industry watchdogs. And from not only making sure that we can continue to farm the land, grow the crops, and raise the livestock, but that the future generations can enjoy this same lifestyle. With the average age of the farmer increasing as the years go on, it is all the more important that we encourage younger generations' involvement in agriculture. Well, how do we do all of this? By uniting together as Mississippi Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. I'd like to leave you with a quote. And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. Ecclesiastes 4:12. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I would love nothing more than to represent Farm Bureau as an ambassador and, most importantly, a voice for agriculture. Thank you.
All right, Sadie, I'm going to let you pick one. Your question is, do Americans spend a lower percentage of their income on food than people living in other countries? Why or why not?
I believe that Americans do spend a lower amount of income on food than in many other countries. I've traveled to 2 different countries and that are almost third world countries, and seen that how much of their income that they spend on food, which is a majority of it, what little they do have, they have to spend on their food because they don't have the money for to have anything but the necessities. They can't have the leisures we can because they can't afford it. And I think we spend such a low amount on food that we really take that for granted.
Thank you. Contestant number 1, Sadie Turner from Corinth. Just want to remind you that at the general store, they have a television there where you can see a lot of the women's programs and things that the women have been doing for the last year, and maybe even some things for you to be involved in. So go take a look at that whenever you're there doing some of your purchases. And we are going to continue with contestant number 2, Concordia Talbert Hotard. Concordia is from Kiln, which is in Hancock County. Currently, she is a sophomore at Ole Miss, majoring in accountancy. She is actually a part of the campus ministry there, the Reformed University Fellowship. She's also on the chancellor's list. After achieving her degree in accounting, she plans to gain experience in the accounting world while studying and passing the CPA exam, and then she plans to study law in hopes of becoming a tax attorney. Contestant number 2, Concordia Hotard.
Hi. Okay. My name is Cordy Hotard, and I would be honored to be your 2016 Farm Bureau Ambassador. What is so funny about me stating this is about 2 years ago, if any of my family would have heard me say this, they would have laughed in my face. My appreciation for my family and my hometown has grown through the city exposure to the city life and through my family. I'm from Kill, Mississippi, a rural area, and also known as the Kill. It is about a half-hour north of Bay State, Mississippi. I have lived in Kill, Mississippi all my life. However, my mom and my dad and an entire extended family are from the city of New Orleans, and about an hour away from my home in the Kill. My father moved to the country life before I was born. He longed for a simpler, more basic life away from the city, where he could hunt, fish, garden, and live off the land. Basically, he wanted to be self-sufficient. So he bought 40 acres and a log cabin and moved to the Kill. When he married my mom, he tried to impress his mindset upon her. And even as I got older, it took a while for her to catch on. But she did. My mom, who grew to appreciate her life in the Kill, in the beginning, had a hard time being away from the conveniences of the city. As a result, my mom, my sister, and I spent many weekends with my family in New Orleans. And back then, I longed to live there too. All my cousins were there, and it just seemed like an easier way of life. We are Catholic, so when it was time for me to go to school, my parents decided to send me and my sister to Catholic school in Bay St. Louis, which is a 30-minute travel from my home. This meant every day for 15 years, my sister and I had to travel at least 1 hour to go to school. My sister and I first hated this. We hated our house in the country, we hated the drive, we hated our country life. Everything we did was logistically challenged because of where we lived. But I'm here to tell you now that those long car rides were precious to my sister, my mom, and I. We would hold long conversations about our lives, jam to our favorite music, and vent to each other about our days. This is something I miss and I will cherish forever, and I look forward to experiencing those same long car rides with my family when I have children. We went to church every Sunday in Kill, Mississippi, and met people with the mindset of my dad, one of self-sufficiency and the need to make their children self-sufficient as well. Most people in town knew each other because many of their families had been there for generations. And because the town was so small, everyone had a closeness like they were family. People helped each other out no matter what. They also had an unbelievable respect for each other and each other's properties. Because many of them, the land was their way of income. The overwhelming respect for property that people in the Kill show has really had an impression on me. One time, when I was very little, during the day when my dad was at work, all of our horses got out. My mom, being a city girl, had no clue what to do, and my dad was at work, so he couldn't do anything about it. My mom's method to get the horse back into the pen was putting feet in the trunk of her little Honda Accord and hoping that the horses would follow her. Our neighbor, Miss Debbie Woodcock, saw her failing attempt, stopped what she was doing, and helped my mom round up our 11 horses. This took hours. This is a type of kindness that everyone shows in the little town that I live in, something that is harder to find in the big city of New Orleans. So what does this have to do about being a Farm Bureau ambassador in agribusiness? Well, as I love my homeland of Kill, Mississippi, and the residents that live there, I have chosen to be an accountant. It is the principles that are black and white, and its practicality is something I love. These are straightforward principles that have led me to truly appreciate my fellow residents of Kill, Mississippi, and their straightforward approach to living off the land and homestead for generations. There are some working farms in the area, but most residents simply make their land work for them. Many of my neighbors live off the land as a sole means of income. They raise horses, cattle, chickens, pigs, and produce sod, bay hail, and harvest timber. In fact, at this time of the year, Kill, Mississippi, you see pastures, land abundant with bales of hay and timber that is just now cut. The people of Kill, Mississippi are most self-sufficient, my quality that my dad has tried to pass on to my sister and I. In preparing for the scholarship application, I spoke to my neighbor that helped my mom with those horses many years ago, Miss Debbie Woodcock. And she said about the benefits of accounting that my profession I have chosen in her agribusiness. She stated that her accountant keeps her in line and helps her maintain different bank accounts for each operation, for each cow side, cow, and farm equipment rental. She keeps separate books for each operation, and that way, each operation is treated separately for tax purposes. This indeed is a very basic, practical mind approach to maintaining her business, which I like. I hope to one day work with some of these people when I take my accounting profession back home to the Kill. As a recipient of the Ambassador Scholarship, I represent the people well. I am a practical-minded person, practicing a practical-minded profession among seemingly practical-minded people. One last thing, my father always told me that I could only marry a man who can fix his own truck. I used to say, what, that's ridiculous. Like, everybody I knew from the city did not know how to do that. And you know what, like now, the idea of marrying a man that can fix his own truck, it not only means he's smart, but he's self-sufficient, and I really like that. Oh goodness, this is what I'm scared about.
Right. Okay, your question is, do farmers in America receive an appropriate amount of financial compensation for the food products they produce? Why or why not?
Yes, I believe that they need to have that compensation so that they can keep their farms going for generations, because it's only important, like financially, they have to keep their business going for their generations and generations to come to keep on producing what they want to sell and produce, and the profit's what matters. So if they don't get the subsidy, they may not get a profit. And I mean, businessly and financially, as an accountant-wise, you need a substance, and if they're used to that subsidy, then they can't be taken away from them. So.
Okay, thank you. Contestant number 2, Concordia Hotard from Kiln. They're in Hancock County. All right. Our next contestant is 19 years old from Columbia in Marion County. Her name is Jenna Smith. She is a sophomore, majoring in biological sciences at Jones County Junior College in Ellisville. She plans to obtain her master's degree in biology at Mississippi State after graduating from JCJC, and her long-term goal is to become a dentist. Jenna?
Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be with you this afternoon. Like she said, my name is Jenna Smith, and I'm from Columbia, representing Marion County today. I believe that agriculture is the culture that we live in here in the great state of Mississippi. As you can see from one of my pictures on my board, I've been around agriculture pretty much my entire life. Growing up in South Mississippi and getting to travel around the state has made me very proud to be from the state. I've seen cotton blowing in the wind that will one day be a shirt on someone's back, along with cattle grazing the fields that will provide a meal for a family. I want to tell others about how important agriculture is to our state and make them appreciate the families that work hard on their farms on a day-to-day basis to raise the agriculture and keep our economy and lifestyle going. But today, instead of presenting you with statistics you may forget and that change very rapidly, and giving you numbers, I want to talk on a personal level and just tell you a couple of things that how agriculture means to me and what it has taught me. I've grown up working hand in hand with my granddaddy, who is a cattle farmer. People do not know much about raising cattle, and like I was once upon a time, I just thought you keep cows in a field for a little while and then they load up on a trailer and then they disappear. But people don't know that how much it takes to behind the scenes work. All the organization skills that are necessary in keeping records, the responsibility to, just even to close a simple gate or to remember to feed them. But it's just much more than that. Working with my granddaddy, I've learned all of these skills and gained insight that can only be taught from him. I've learned the value of a dollar and that hard work is what it takes to be successful. It's also important to me all the memories I've gained from him and that I'll cherish in my heart forever. Some of these pictures are from experiences on our own farm in Columbia, but some of them are from farms around Mississippi with other farmers just like him, maybe growing a different crop or raising something different, but they all are the same thing. They're all agriculture and they're all from our state. We may not have a professional sports team to root for in our state to boast about, but we can boast that we provide the basic needs of life to everyone. Ag provides raw materials, jobs, clothing, and food. I would be honored to represent you as the next Agriculture Ambassador for Farm Bureau. Thank you.
All right, Jenna, here's your question. Do agricultural practices harm the environment? What ag practices can be used to protect the environment?
I feel that agriculture practices do not harm the environment if they are taken by an approach of, or how the approach they are taken. I'm personally not very well educated on many things besides cattle farming, but I know that most of the things that we use do not, so I'm going to say no. Thank you.
Thank you. Contestant number 3, Jenna Smith from Columbia. All right, we'll continue with our 4th and final contestant, Jenna Nicole Smith. Jenna is from Picayune in Pearl River County. She's 20 years old. She is a junior at Mississippi State and looks like that she plans on graduating to obtain an ag communication or communications degree from Mississippi State, possibly some grad school, and hopefully complete her internship in Washington, D.C. Jessica?
Drought, blight, hardships and struggles along the way, lawsuits, animal rights activist groups, and even more government regulations and guidelines and stipulations that farmers have to oversee. I think that to the public eye that agriculturalists and farmers are misunderstood. I think that whenever the consumers, the people who are relying on agriculture for their daily lives, whether they know it or not, are misguided by the animal rights activist groups and other organizations that don't really understand the agriculture industry, I think that there's a gap that is created. A gap in communication and a gap in trust. And the bottom line is that consumers need to feel confident in their food source. I'm going to take the time to tell you about a few people and then ask a question. So Olivia Branham, she's 15 years old. She is a beef cattle exhibitor in Pearl River County in 4-H. She is a 4-H ambassador, and she spends her time exhibiting her Simmental cattle at local shows, state fairs, regional, and even national shows. Kelsey Barnes, she's 23 years old, and she volunteers her time in Ghana, Africa, with the AgriCorps, where she helps teach people about agriculture and better ways to grow their food. Tanya Phillips, she's from Maysville, Kentucky. She's a middle-aged mother of 2, and she is a high school ag teacher. And she spends her time teaching her high school students about agriculture, horticulture, animal science, and general agriculture. What do these people have in common? They're using their voice for something that they have a passion for. They're using their voice for the agriculture industry. My name is Jessica Smith, and I am an ag communications student at the great Mississippi State University, and I want to use my voice for agriculture. Agriculture is something that I have been very passionate about since a very young age. I was kind of born into it. My grandparents were cotton farmers and dairy farmers. So I grew up knowing a lot about agriculture, but I will say, even though I am very knowledgeable about the ag industry, it is ever-changing, and our consumers are ever-changing. And a lot of people that are involved in the ag industry are not from farms. They're not from the typical small-town, family-owned farm. They're not a third-generation farmer. They either find their passion elsewhere through career fairs or college career fairs, and they decide to go into the ag industry. And I think that's very important to keep in mind, that those people are also using their voice for agriculture, even though they have not been in it their entire lives. They were once a consumer that was educated and found their passion for the agriculture industry. I think it's very important that we use our voice to educate the consumers because, they say you are what you eat. And so people that are watching television advertisements or reading the local newspaper or scrolling through Facebook or Twitter, nowadays those social media outlets and news outlets are ways that we can turn it around, turn a bad thing around, and say this is the truth. We need to dispel those truths because it's very important. Those problems that I talked about earlier and the struggles that people don't understand that we farmers face, profit loss and lawsuits with those animal rights activist groups and government regulations, uneducated consumers is the first step to those problems. And so when you dispel those myths and help educate these consumers, they then understand why we do what we do and how passionate we are about this great industry. So my purpose here today is basically just to challenge you to find that passion that you have for agriculture, whether you're a high school ag teacher, a Farm Bureau member, a high school student, or whether you're not even involved with the agricultural industry. Find your passion and use your voice for agriculture. Thank you.
All right, Jessica, here's your question. Is food produced in America safer than foreign-produced food? Why or why not?
My personal opinion on this matter would be that food produced in America is safer. If it's right here at home, then we know exactly where it's been, what it's gone through, and how it was raised, and have proper labeling, so we know that our food has come from American agriculture and American-based farms. I do want to take the moment to commend American farmers and agriculturalists for taking the time and caring for their food and making sure that we have a good quality food source.
Thank you. Contestant number 4, Jessica Smith from Picayune, Pearl River County. And I'm going to ask the contestants to come on up here to the stage, and if you will, stand in front of the Christmas tree. Contestant number 1, Sadie Turner. Number 2, Concordia Hotard. Contestant number 3, Jenna Smith. And contestant number 4, Jessica Smith. I believe that we have plaques for each and every one of them. And we'll present to them. Give them a big hand. It's nerve-wracking to be up here in front of the bright lights and to speak in front of a group of people that most of them they don't know, to prepare a speech, most of it off the cuff, extemporaneous. All right, so we will announce that the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation 2016 Ambassador Award, an award of $4,000, goes to contestant number 4, Jessica Smith. So Jessica gets something new, a blanket from Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, as well as a pin specifically made for the winner. Thank you all again for participating and being a part of this, and congratulations, each and every one of you.